My daughter is 19 and she recently decided that college wasn't the right path for her, at least not for right now. And I do support that. I really do. Because I don't think that everyone has to follow the same timeline or the same path. But it did make me realize something about being a parent. There's a point where your role starts to change. When your kids are young, you're the one guiding everything. You're choosing the school, deciding what's safe. You're helping shape the direction their life is taking. But at some point, that responsibility begins to shift. And suddenly, feels like almost overnight, they're the ones making decisions about their future. And that can feel uncomfortable and sad. Not because you don't believe in them, but because you want them to build a life that will take care of them later. You want them to have options and stability, a sense of direction. At the same time, you also know that figuring those things out takes time. Very few people have their life mapped out at 19. Most people are experimenting, changing their minds, learning what fits and what doesn't. So now I'm learning a different kind of parenting. Less directing, more supporting. Less controlling the outcome and more trusting that she'll eventually find her way. Of course, I'll admit, there's also a small motivation involved, because the sooner she gets out, the sooner I can turn her bedroom into a yoga studio or an office or something for me. So there's a little incentive. But all jokes aside, I think this stage of parenting is about balance. Supporting your child as they explore their future while also quietly hoping they make choices that set them up well for the long run. And I have to remind myself that when I was 19, I did not have everything figured out at all. In fact, it wasn't until I was probably 23 that things in my life started to fall into place. Not that I think it will take her that long, but sometimes figuring life out means moving 5 steps forward, then taking 2 steps back, or 3 steps forward and 4 steps back. And that's just part of the process. I think a lot of parents find themselves in this exact space, wanting to guide, but knowing that some lessons can only be learned by living them. So the best thing we can do is stay close, offer advice when it's asked for, which it rarely is, and trust that the path eventually becomes clearer. Because again, most of us did not have everything figured out at 19 either. We just forget that sometimes. If you're a parent, how did you handle the moment when your kids started making their own life decisions? I know it's been hard for me, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you'd like, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks for listening.